You guys can hear me okay out there? All right. Thank you, Blake. So I'll tell you, this is hard. I don't feel qualified to talk about what I'm going to talk about because I'm on this journey. What we're going to talk about today, I'm on the same journey. So I'm going to stand up here and talk about this, not like I'm the expert. I'm not the SME. I'm a guy on the same journey. Like I said, I was scared to have this opportunity. When I talked to Shane and he told me about the vision for the conference and what he had in mind, I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea. You should do that. And then when he told me he would like me to speak, and I almost feel like I don't think he asked me. I think he told me also. I didn't know what I was going to talk about because it was going to be something different. I could stand up here and talk about fitness and mindset, and I'm real comfortable talking about that stuff, but what I'm going to talk about today, I'm working through it myself. And like I said, I don't feel qualified to have the conversation, but I had to remind myself that God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies and equips the called. And I had to remind myself that I am worthy and I am somebody who could have this conversation with you today. So I'll tell you, this is the first time I'm doing this. The first time I'm presenting this. I'm praying that the Lord will speak through me for you today. I value your time. There's so many different things you could be doing right now. And you're choosing to sit here and listen to me. And I feel a great responsibility that I add value to your life. So we're going to talk about service above self. This is something that when I had my first fire interview, this is the thing I preached in that fire interview, because that's what they wanted to hear. But if I'm being honest, early in my career, this is my 23rd year. I've been with 3 different fire departments. Started out in Boca Raton Fire, South Florida, 5 years there. My wife and I, I'll show you a picture here soon. When we first met, our first 5-minute conversation was we wanted to live in Colorado. So we made that dream a reality, but it took a tremendous amount of faith to leave a place I had established myself, my dream job, and move to Colorado. Went out to Colorado, worked at a great fire department for 13 years. Great fire departments have seasons where things change. And you heard about it today. There are times in your career where it's not the calls, it's the administration, it's the lack of leadership, it's the targeting, it's the vindictiveness. I just got tired of it. Poured my blood, sweat, and tears into the organization. I made a decision. As much as our fire departments have a standard for us, we get to have a standard for our fire department too. I made a decision. I went to another fire department, my 3rd fire department, 45 years old in a fire academy. Took a tremendous amount of faith. So I'll stand up here today and I'll let you know the only reason I was able to do any of the things that I did or I'm going to do in the future or whatever comes my way isn't from me. I'm a broken man. I make mistakes every single day. I'm one decision away from making the worst decision of my life. I'm a sinner. The most important thing is I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. So the question I have to ask myself at this point in my career, because early on, I said the right things, but it was about honoring myself. I was doing things to look good, to get validation from my crew, to make a name for myself. And the results of that seemed okay. I could say, I'm here to serve others, but I was serving myself. So my question to you is, are you here to serve others or to serve yourself? And that's a question I have to ask myself every single day I go to work, even with my family. I have to ask myself that multiple times in a shift. 2 a.m. in the morning, that frequent flyer, right? We have those conversations on the rig. It's healthy. It's mental healthy. right? We talk about, oh, we're going on this call again. And then I have to circle back and ask myself, why am I here? Am I here to serve myself and my immediate needs? Or am I here to serve others? And if I'm being honest with you and myself, a lot of times I'm here to serve myself. It's that constant look in the mirror where you have to be honest with yourself and get back to why we're supposed to be here. I want to be this. I want to be this every single run we go on, every single minute of every single day. I want to be selfless. But there are times where that selfishness creeps in. So this is what we're going to really talk about today is the heart. The heart, that's who we are. And we want to get to the point, and I want to get to the point where I have a heart to serve others. Where my default position in any given situation is to serve others. And that comes from the heart. That's who we really are. That is what really motivates us and drives us and pulls us in the direction of our service. It's the heart. How many of you got on the job to do a search? Like searching down a hallway, that idea of doing a search, that's the reason I became a firefighter. That whole idea of going down a hallway, searching a room, making a grab, like that is what made me want to do this job. But I'll ask you to search your heart. Make your heart the motivator behind every single thing you do. And then you're doing the job from a place of purity. Anybody in here read the Bible? To me, that's the instruction manual for life. All the answers are in there. Every time you read it, it reads a little bit different depending on the season of your life. A verse that you once read 2 years ago, when everything was going your way and you had the wind at your back and you were running downhill, meant nothing. Now you're running uphill, the wind's in your face, things are going sideways, and you read a verse and it's a completely different verse. That's why they call it the living word. Fire tests the purity of silver and gold, but the Lord tests the heart. People may be right in their own eyes, but the Lord examines the heart. We want to approach the job with a spirit of humility. There are two types of firefighters: humble and those that are about to be. This job humbled me. My first 5 years on the job, I thought I had it all figured out. Even the calls that didn't go well, I made excuses, didn't take ownership. I was worshiping myself. It wasn't until I began to have a relationship with Jesus Christ that I'd start to see how selfish I was and how I was making the job all about me. When we work from a spirit of humility, we understand that we're ultimately working for an audience of one. Now we have our standard, our fire department standard, right? And the people that are in this room, I guarantee you, are holding themselves to a much higher standard than their fire department does. I think there's a standard even higher than that. It's working for the Lord. We have an opportunity in the work that we do to serve our brothers and sisters, to serve our communities, and do it in a way that honors and glorifies God, ultimately drawing others closer to Him. Humility is an important part of the job, and that's what you saw all throughout this day. For the men that stood up here and spoke, the foundation of everything they talk about is humility. Humility will position you to do the job for the right reasons. This guy right here is Jim Smith. This is his last day of a 40-year career. When I was in the academy at department number 2, he was a legend. He came out and trained us. Everything he did it with humility. He did it with joy. When you know it, I get assigned to his truck company right out of the academy. And I'm nervous because I want to prove myself to this guy. I want to make sure that he likes me. So I'm over at the firehouse even before his shift, and I'm going through the rig compartments, and I'm making sure I know things about that truck before I go there for my first shift. And the shift that was on before us would have been A shift, and they're trying to kick me out of the station, like, what are you doing? And it was all because I wanted to impress this guy, the legend, Schmitty. And I walk into the firehouse, I walk into the bay, and he's got his gear set up. And one of the first things he says to me, he welcomes me, he shakes my hand, he looks me in the eye, and within 5 minutes, he asks me, he goes, what do you know that I should know? What did you learn new in the fire academy that I should know? And at that time, he was on for 30 years, retired here at 40, mopping the floor. This man worked with a spirit of humility that inspired me to want to be like that. It's one of my favorite calls. It's not a grab. It's not some sexy call that I was on where I made any, amazing move or anything like that, any critical decision. It's about 6 in the morning. Our shift change was at 7. And, you're sleeping in your shorts, your T-shirt. At the time, we were still responding to every medical call in our bunker gear. We're getting back to that now, finally, getting back to that. So I threw on my bunkers, my pants, and we go on a medical. And no notes, right? There's never notes. We're just not sure what we're going on. As we get closer, it turns out it's just a lift assist. It's just going to be a lift assist. And we get there. We look through the windows. We're trying to see, if we could see anything. All the house is buttoned up really good. And we see elderly lady through the window. We could see through a bedroom into the hallway. And she was just on the ground. Looked like she fell out of her recliner. And she's just waving to us. She's in no distress. But we got to get inside her home. And these guys want to just get to it. They want to just get inside the house. I said, hold on. Let's just see what we could do to get inside before we start forcing the door, doing damage, putting her in a position where she has to repair her door. So I go walking around the house. Everything's still buttoned up, and I see a doggy door. Little doggy door at the back of the garage, man door to the garage. And I look at my officer, and I said, hey, you good with me going through this doggy door? Seeing if I could get in through the garage? He goes, yeah, just don't get bit by a dog. So I drop my bunkers. Now I'm in socks, shorts, T-shirt. Get through, unlock the door, let the guys in. We're now in the garage. She's got like 3 deadbolts going into the house. I look up. There's an attic hatch. Look at him. Are you good with me climbing up in that attic hatch and seeing if it goes through? A-frame ladders right there in the garage. Everything's set up for us. He's like, yeah. Just don't fall through the ceiling. Get up there, flash the light through. See that it goes through. Crawling across the rafters. Pop open the interior hatch, and she's right below me. Hi, ma'am. My name's John. I'm with the fire department. Hi. Now I got to swing down. I don't want to give her I don't want to crotch her with my, right? So I know I got to swing down. I get down, go open the door for the crew. They come in. EMS shows up. I'm running a call in T-shirt, shorts, and socks. So they're just looking at me. And she's the happiest lady. And the best part of that story is I cared about her house. I had it in me that day to be who I said I was going to be. So those opportunities are always there. Uncle Don talked about it the other day. He was on a podcast, The Scrap. And I flew in yesterday, and he talked about paying for somebody's gas. Talked about doing certain things. He said, if you have that feeling, go with it. Go with it. So I'm standing, and I'm not telling you this so you guys can say, wow, you're great, you paid for somebody's gas. I just want you to know that inspired me to do it. Hearing him say that inspired me to do it. And I walk in, this guy says, hey, how you doing, brother? Just some guy, random guy. Just happened to be in line with me to pay before I paid, getting my energy drink. He's paying for his gas. He's got a soda. I said, no, I got that. I want to pay for that gas. So there's opportunities every single day for us to serve. But it starts in our home. These pictures are a little bit different seasons of my career. That's my wife, Chrissy. She's the best human being I know. I barely got out of high school. She graduated number 1 in her class in high school, University of Florida, and South Carolina for number 1 in all 3. I barely got out of high school, so there's a guy. That's my daughter, Riley. She's the oldest. She's 17. It's tough to be a 17-year-old right now. She's had some difficulties, some seasons that are challenging. You want to test your faith? Have your kids struggle. Have your kids struggle with mental health. You want to test, is there a God? Go through something like that. It is a challenge. She's coming out on the other side, but it has been a challenge. That's my son, Walker. He's 14. He's a leader at 14 years old. The things that are coming out of his mouth is just blowing me away. There's no higher level of accountability other than God than the eyes and ears of your children. And sometimes I don't think that kid's listening to me at all. And then he'll just say something that makes complete sense. I'm like, thank you, God. Thank you. And that's my daughter, Grace. Who in here is married? You guys have been raising your hands a lot. You're going to have to ice your arms when you get... It's easy, right? Easiest thing you ever did? How many in here have kids? Don't raise your hand. Just, you have children, right? I believe God created marriage and children to get us over our own selfish, natural tendency. How many of you in here think that marriage is in place to make you happy? Took me a while to realize it's in place to make me holy. I'm going to mention a book real quick that I needed to read at a season of our marriage that was difficult, and I was feeling underappreciated, and I was feeling like my needs weren't getting met, and woe is me, and you don't appreciate me, and I do all this stuff for the family. I was playing the victim. And I read a book, it's called Sacrificial Marriage. I'm pretty sure not all of us in here are running downhill with the wind at our back in our marriage, and if you're struggling, I recommend read that book. It changed the game for me, which changed the game for our marriage. It starts in our home. It starts with putting our family first. Those top 2 pictures, those seasons of my career, my identity was firefighter. I put everything into that. I preached something completely different at times, but that's not what I was doing. I was a hypocrite. And it took some hard days, hard weeks, hard months at home for me to realize it was me. Because sometimes we are the problem. And the hardest thing to do is acknowledge that and start taking the steps to make a change. So it starts in our home with serving our family. Put their needs first. I told these guys yesterday, I said, if my daughter was not in a good place right now, and if I was about to get on the plane and I got a call from my wife, hey, Riley's not doing good, I'm out. As much as I want to be here, but if you would have put me in that situation on those top 2 pictures, I would have been like, no, they need me. I need to be there. Put your family first. Because when your career is over, it's a great career. Don't get me wrong. I am blessed to be able to do what I do. But when your career is over, they're going to fill your seat. They're going to move on. But the family's still going to be there. Put that time in. Put your family first. I don't know. I'm somebody who needs to have a perspective to sometimes get my mind right, but more importantly, my heart right. Sometimes I have to remind myself of what others did, specifically what my Lord and Savior did, so that I could have a tough day, so that I could experience hardship. One of the greatest examples of leadership, how many of you are going to wash each other's feet when we get out of here today? Anybody want to do that? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, because that's what I am. And since I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash each other's feet. I've given you an example to follow. Do as I have done. It's powerful. It's truth. It's what happened. It's real. It's what I need to attach to at times to get my mind right and hopefully my heart right as well. We talked about there's another level to this job. There's another standard that we could work towards. Honor and glorify God through the work you get to do. How you do the chores, how you wash the rig, how you treat each other. Again, I'm on this journey with you. I'm not up here saying I got this all together. Quick story. My wife and I were looking forward to going to a nice dinner. My daughter was going to a country music concert with her boyfriend. We were going to drop them off. We're going to go to a nice dinner. Everything's on my timeline. It's going good. I got everything set up. Refrigerator just starts dumping water all over the floor. There's water dumping all over the floor. Puts a little bit of a kink in my plan of when we're going to leave the house and all this stuff. I didn't handle it well. I didn't yell. I wasn't yelling at anybody. But my body language was somebody who was not a servant, who was not humble, who was not what I'm preaching up here today. I wasn't that. And I say that to remind you that we're all working on a daily basis to become a better version of ourselves. And if you're a follower of Jesus, more like him. Right? There's only one perfect man to ever walk the earth. Tom talked about it earlier, and he died on a cross 2,000 years ago. So I know perfection is not possible. It doesn't give me an excuse to behave the way I behaved with my wife and my children. That took me about 3 to 4 days to fix, of just getting back to, I made a mistake, I'm sorry, owning my mistake, and moving on from there. Work willingly at whatever you do as though you're working for the Lord rather than people. There's a purity in that. There's a truth in that. You're not working for validation. And when the criticism comes, that's not affecting you the same either, because you know why you're doing what you do. God knows your heart. This is so important right now. We were talking about it earlier. There's a lot of negativity right now. There's a lot of negativity in the fire service. There's people criticizing other people, attacking other people, maybe happening in your fire department, maybe happening in your kitchen table, on the bumper. Be salt and light. Make things brighter, make things better and brighter. Be the most positive influence somebody may have in their life. Be somebody who they go to for advice. Be somebody who is approachable. Because you could be the best human being in the world, but you want to be approachable. You want people to be so comfortable coming to you that you have that opportunity to share the good news. Why you have joy, why you have peace, especially in the storms of your own life. Blake sat up here in a wheelchair and he talked about how this is a good thing. How do you get to that point where you get and an accident like Blake was in, and you could say this is a good thing. There's only one way to get there. There's only one way to get there. And that's following the Lord. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. This one gets tough at times. If you're keeping track of what everyone's doing around the firehouse, you did that, I did this, you didn't do this, I did that. It becomes a game, and there's a bitterness that takes place in your heart. And that's not a good place to work from. You do it because it needs to get done. You do it to help your brothers and sisters. The gossip that goes around on the kitchen table, I wish the recruits were still here because I wanted to talk to them about this, but you get new people in the firehouse and you're gossiping, you know what they want more than anything? Is they want to be just like you. Just like you. They want your approval. They want to fit in. And guess what they're going to do? They may not gossip right away, but they're going to jump in there pretty soon. This job is hard enough. We see things, smell things, hear things, touch things that people will never experience. We carry some of those calls on the walls of our mind for our whole career. Once we experience that, it's there. You live with it. Do we need to be beating each other up on top of that? It's happening. Maybe happening in your fire department, maybe be happening in your firehouse, but you have the opportunity to change that. It starts with just not participating in it, redirecting it. And in today's world, it's gotten so easy to criticize people because you could do it from the comfort of your own home. Just a little device that we hold in our hand. Talk to the people. The people you have a problem with, talk to them. I've had people who have had a problem with me. They come to me face to face. I have a great deal of respect for them. We agree. We don't agree. But the gossip's got to stop. We got to stop doing it. We're eating our own. And it's just adding to an already challenging career. We don't need to be doing it to each other. What does that look like? Anybody experience this? You go to put your clothes in the dryer. Somebody else has their clothes in the dryer. What do you think about when you see your clothes like this on top of the dryer? Somebody did that to you, and you're going to fold them. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to fold them like that. But we'll sit here and we'll say, oh, we're here to serve. We're here to serve the public. Service above self. I'm here for whatever you need, but I can't take 2 minutes and fold my brother or sister's laundry. It's the little things, the simple things that we could do to show them we care. I do it because I want them to know I care. I want them to know I love them. So I was a brand new first year. I don't think I had been on for more than 2 months. And this is Boca Raton, where I started my career. This isn't the picture. I couldn't find the picture of the crew. But I wanted to use the picture to kind of depict the kitchen table and the conversations that take place at the kitchen table. So we're sitting at the kitchen table. I don't know anything. And they're just beating this guy down, criticizing him. He's not there, of course. It's usually how it goes down, right? And they're criticizing him. And looking back now, after having some time on the job, it was for a mistake that I've probably made half a dozen times already, if not more. But they were just beating him down. And the senior firefighter was sitting next to me, and he wasn't saying a word. And I was just waiting for him to jump in and get in on the conversation. And it's going on, it's going on. Company officers doing it, engineers doing it. Senior firefighter's not saying a word. And it finally got to a point where everyone had a bite in their mouth and no one was finally talking. And he looked up from the table, and all he said was, "Thank God we're so perfect." That stuck with me. Doesn't mean I never gossiped from that point forward, because I participated in it. I'm not proud of it. I'm ashamed of it. I've gone back and I've apologized to those people that I've gossiped about. But thank God we're all so perfect. It's so easy for us to throw stones and criticize. And what are we doing that for? We're doing that to feel like we belong to the group that's criticizing and gossiping, but we're doing it to make ourselves feel better. So I encourage you, speak words of encouragement, speak words of life. Do we have firefighters on the job that aren't very good at the job and don't care about the job? Absolutely. Does it drive you crazy? Yeah. It's not right. But how do we handle it? Talk trash about them or try and help them? Are there people that you can't help? Yeah. Been there too. But gossiping about people are only telling people more about what you are about than that person you're gossiping about. Man, it's right on top. All you got to do is pull the one out and it's just going to drop down for you. That same firefighter, that same senior firefighter who said, "Thank God we're all so perfect." I was blessed to have him my first year. He said to me, he goes, "John, everything you do is one less thing your brothers and sisters have to do. Everything you do is one less thing your brothers and sisters have to do." So how do we change our heart? I don't know how this is going to work for everybody, but I'm going to tell you what's worked for me. I have to humble myself before the Lord, and I have to ask him to help change my heart. I have to say, "Lord, I'm not strong enough. I don't have any of the answers. I make mistakes every single day. I need you to give me a heart to serve. I need you to give me a heart like your son, Jesus Christ, because I can't do it on my own." And then we get into Scripture. We read the Bible. The answers are there. It is the instruction manual for life if you give it a chance. Fellowship, that's what this is. Yeah, we call it a fire conference, but the conversations that are happening around these tables, finding out that other people have challenges just like me, that's the basis of friendship. Oh, you're not perfect? Oh, cool, because I'm not either. That's where it starts. And that circle that you build is so important because you can't do this on your own. We need to know that there are people there that we can depend on, that care about us, that pour into us. It's been the common theme throughout the day. The reason that these men are able to stand up here and talk to you is because they had other men and women pouring into them. Mentors, people that care. In the slide before, it said, what are you consuming? What are you reading? What are you listening to? Because your inputs, the things you allow into your mind, are going to help shape your heart. The books you read, things you listen to, the things you watch, the people you surround yourself with, those are your inputs. We had a guy that used to get to the firehouse and he was angry, like really angry. He'd come in, you could just see his body language was bad. And that was like the first couple hours of every shift. And one day I actually pulled up at the same time as he did. And I was getting out of my car and making my way over to the station, and he opened his door. And it sounded like music that was coming from hell. It was like death metal on like steroids. I don't even know. I never heard it before, never heard it again, but that's what he would listen to on his way into work. And he would get out of the car and he was this angry, angry person. So what we consume is important. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life. Guard your heart. Guard who you allow around you. Guard what you allow inside your mind. It's important. It'll show up in your life. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That gets back to reading Scripture, wholesome talk, wholesome information, taking in the good. Because I know I can't, there's no chance I have of being good if I'm taking in bad stuff. It's impossible. I've tried it. It just doesn't work that way. God did not create us that way. So what happens when you start being somebody who has a heart to serve and you have a spirit of humility? Man, people might think others are taking advantage of you. Look at this guy. This guy treated him that way, but yet he still served that person. He still folded his laundry. This guy always leaves it in the dryer. He never takes his stuff out of the dryer. So when anyone has to put their stuff in the dryer, it's always there, but you always fold it. Why do you always fold it? He's just going to keep doing it. So they're going to talk about you. People are going to talk about you. Then you do something great, and they're going to talk about that too. Now you're great. Do something bad, now they're going to talk about that too. What God knows about you is way more important than what people think about you. The good too, because it's real easy to get ahead of yourself because somebody said something great about you. It's real easy to get low. But when you're looking for your validation's already been given, you're validated. Everybody in this room wants to know two things. Do I have what it takes? And am I good enough? We'll spend our whole lives trying to figure that out in different areas of life, doing crazy stuff. The cross, you do have what it takes, and you are good enough. It's really easy to focus on what we give and what we did and all the things that we're doing. And I know some of the challenges in my marriage is I just wasn't feeling appreciated in seasons of my marriage, and I'm doing this, and you're not doing that. And I'd encourage you, don't focus on what you give, focus on what Jesus gave. So that you have this opportunity to work through this difficult season of life. It's the only reason we could even have a chance to go through trials and tribulations is because what he did on the cross. Focus on that. So what gets in the way of trying to transform our heart and really put service above self? It's our ego. It's all the things that we participate in, all the distractions, all the things that are out there today, they're edging God out. Our egos, wanting to be somebody, wanting to be recognized, wanting to be something, wanting other people to tell us or validate us. Anybody in here ever struggle with their ego? Your ego ever get in the way? Yeah. And I know that it could get in my way right after we're done here. You come up to me and you tell me, hey, that was good. That was a good presentation. I could easily get ahead of myself and say, oh, that was all me. That was all me. That was all my doing. You got to guard that. You got to be honest with yourself. And that comes from the heart. The heart is who we are. Must search our hearts. It's a daily practice for me. Nowadays, I ask myself two questions. I ask myself two questions before I commit to anything. Am I doing this to honor and glorify myself? Or am I doing this to honor and glorify God? If the answer is myself, I'm saying no. If the answer is God, as long as it lines up with the family, I'm saying yes. That's where I'm at today. Wasn't always there, and I hope I don't go back to where I was, because I know I am susceptible to that. I'm not sitting here thinking I got it all figured out. It could be next week I'm letting my ego run the show. So it's a constant awareness of what flows from the heart. We're working for an audience of one. When you get to that point where you realize all that matters is what God knows about you, and you're working from a place of wanting to honor and glorify God, and to draw others closer to Him through your life, that's who you're working for. And I guarantee you're going to hit all the things you need to hit in life. If that's the one you're working for, you're going to be just fine. Humility is the most important thing I've learned throughout my journey. Without it, my heart is stone. Without it, I don't have a chance of being who God put me on this earth to be. So you want to humble yourself before the Lord, and He will lift you up. Humble yourself before the Lord. Come before the Lord. All right, I'm going to transition here a little bit because we talked a lot about these stories today were impactful, powerful, and made me a better man. Can anybody say that happened for them today, early on today, when you heard those stories? Like, I'm a better person for the pain that these men shared, because that's the instruction manual for that next person going through it. That's the reason you go through adversity. There's a purpose in that pain. There are people in here right now that are going through things I went through, and when I get a chance to talk to you about it, I can't wait to share the good news and how it changed me for the better, and how the Lord has a plan for every single one of you. All of you have things in your life that you're praying for right now that'll go away. No one knows about them. But what it takes for those to go away, and that journey you go through, is going to help the next person you come across that's going through the same thing. Give that pain purpose. Help somebody else who's going through it. Don't be afraid to share your faith. I know it's scary at the firehouse. I'm not, as much as I'm up here talking about it, I'm not hitting people over the head with Bibles at the firehouse. I'm not trying to convert people in their bunk rooms. But I'm not afraid to share my faith. I'm afraid not to. Because that might be exactly what they need to hear. So have that openness and have that heart to let others know why you have joy in your life when all these things were going wrong. Why you have hope. Because they're watching you. No matter how hard it is right now, how much adversity you're going through, how difficult the season is, people are watching you. And they're going to want to know, how did Tom make it through that? How did Nate come out the other side? And they're going to share the good news. I'll leave you with this. God changed my life. The only reason I even feel like I could stand up here and share this with you is because of the work He's done on me. Because of the work He's done on me, because of the stripping away of all the parts of me that weren't necessary, that weren't not in line with His purpose for my life, that I had to go through the trials, I had to go through the tribulations, I had to go through all the difficulty, to include challenges at home with my family, and I know they're not over. I know they're still coming. I know there's another storm on the way. But the closer you get to God, when that next storm comes, you get to see it for what it is. It's an opportunity to God shape you, refine you, and make you into the person He wants you to be. That doesn't just happen because we want to. It happens because we have a relationship with Jesus. This is my information for you. If anybody wants to contact me, I'm more than happy to talk to you over the phone. I do prefer a phone call, as weird as that sounds. I'd rather talk to you on the phone than text message or email. But please feel free to reach out. I hope this rest of this week for you is as powerful as today was. Have an open mind. More importantly, have an open heart. If anything touched you today or anybody in any way moved you in a direction that you weren't moving in before, please come up to us. We'd love nothing more than to sit with you, talk with you. I'll tell you right now, I don't have all the answers. And that's why I have to put the Bible verses up here, because I can't remember but 2 of them. So I ain't no expert on any of this stuff, but I do know what God's done in my life, and I'd be more than happy to share that with you. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me today, and God bless you. Thanks, guys.